CQDX, this is the American Savage in the American Savage Garage. Just checking out the 38 lower sideband today. The Mother Nature is flipping and flopping and rocking and rolling. And we're just checking to see what's out there today. Things are pretty hot and pretty rolling, man. It's pretty difficult to break through. But CQDX 73s to you all. Happy New Year. The American Savage standing by. Hey there, how you doing today? Man, the skip is rolling today on 38. I just happened to check on lower sidebands. The first time I've done it since I set up my CB. But right now I have something else that's not automotive related going here, and I'm going to turn down my base station. I got a common problem. This is a Yamaha K1020, which I've had for, man, very long time, late 80s maybe, and maybe early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And back in the day, this thing was pretty, not really top of the line, but it certainly wasn't the lower end of the line. I had a hi-fi system that I still use today. Most of it is a Denon oriented, probably mid-range hi-fi, and at least for the time. And really would love to get back to tubes, actually. But anyway, that's beside the point. The Yamaha K1020 runs, it has a typical problem, and it's in this unit right here. This is the mechanism where the cassette tape goes in. And usually what happens on these Yamahas, and you know, maybe some other things too, Nakamichis, Sanyos, and whatnot, is that the fast forward runs and then stops. That is usually the problem of what they call an idler arm, and the rubber wheel loses contact with the pickup of the capstans. Another thing that might happen is the play skips, but that could be also tied to the belt. This is a belt drive system. It's not the best. What happens is these belts, these in here, right in here, don't pick up the tape, and that could be from the belt. The rewind and the fast forward are all from the idler wheel. So I've got the top off. There's only 5 screws. 5 screws will hold it. 2 on the sides, each side, and then 1 on the back, right here. So that's off. The mechanism itself has 2 screws, 1 here and 1 here, and then there's 2 on the bottom, and then this whole thing comes out. Interesting that they run the Run 20 straight through here. Can barely see it. Right here, this baby is hot with 120. So 110, 120. So anyway, but all we're interested in is this right here. Everything else seems to be functioning well. It plays. There's sound, and we're gonna go along here. I'm not gonna bore you with taking this stuff out so much as I am really with just the repair itself. So anyway, let's get after it. A couple of things here that I've already done. Right here, this is the idler tire, and it's on there. Here's the old one, just to give you a sense of what this looks like. This is what the old idler tire looked like. And you might say, well, that baby looks like it's in pretty good condition. I've got an extra one here that I'm going to show you, and you'll see part of the issue of what's happening here. If you see this right here is the old one. This is the new one. And the old one, you can see the idler tire has worn down, and the new one is much thicker. So that means when this tire catches here, it spins the capstan front and back. This is where your rewind comes from. Now there's an additional problem, and this is a notoriously issue. This is a notorious issue for the K1020s, and that is this little baby right here. This little baby is plastic, and it hits the wire or the tire and runs it off of a motor in the back. You can see that pretty much right here. There's a little motor, and this fits over that spindle down in there, and the tire runs off it and then moves side to side depending on if it's forward or rewind. Now, I have a problem with this, and I kind of know how to fix it. Is that right here, let me get my screwdriver out. Right here, there's a crack. Now, usually what happens is when this cracks, this idler tire will either not spin as fast as it should or slip on and off the motor because it's loose. So what I have to do is I'm probably going to use a little bit. This is a non-replaceable part. Now what I could do, and I may have to do it because I know people, is go to a machine shop and have them cut me out a brass one. That may be the only way around this sort of thing. Now that would not be expensive. It's a pain in the butt, you know. It's not fun. It's a real pain in the ass. But they could spin one of these babies out to the spec needed, and I could put a brass fitting on there. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to super glue this on the outside and then just squeeze the crack together really lightly in a soft jawed vise. Then I'll press it back on, and you know, we'll see what we have. Okay, that way it'll fit really tight over the motor capstan and spin the idler tire, which will then engage forward and reverse. Okay, we'll see what we can do here. Okay, so what I did here is I took the wheel that it's the idler tire and I just put some super glue into the crack, and then I pressed it back together again so it'll fit tight, that little hole right there over the capstan and the motor. There it is, back into the motor right here. And you can see when the capstan moves, it moves the idler wheel over and back and over and back. The wheel being bigger should put enough pressure on these capstans here for rewind and fast forward. The next thing up here is the belt. The belt goes around these two big spools here, but is driven by this right here. And there is a little brass pulley there that you can see. And it drives these two. Now here's the old one right here. It's off. You can see it's stretched. It's not in bad shape, but it is stretched. Here's the new one. This is what it would look like brand new right here. And that's got to go on now. Okay, we are done with the K1020, at least as far as I can tell right now. Got a cassette here. Put it in. You hear it go clink, and it does. It stays pretty true to the way it's supposed to run. Forward and reverse works. But when I put this in, this little motor right here was just spinning and clicking. And so now when I push it, you'll see, maybe you'll be able to see it move there. Yeah, you can see it move. Before it was just going click, 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 and then catch. So what I had to do is I didn't videotape it, but there's a motor right there, and it runs a screw jack. And it was either a little bit gunky or whatnot. What I did and what I use for all this is a little bit of specialized 3-in-1 oil. But this is for electrical motors and whatnot. And I just took a little bit on the edge of a screwdriver. Just dipped a little bit right on the edge, and then I just dab it in there. It'll hold on long enough where you can dab it in there. And then I move the motor by my finger and let it sit for a little while so it works into the bearing. Doesn't take a lot. Too much of it will ruin it. So in this case then, can see here, we'll just check it out here. Rewind. Now before it would have stopped immediately. That works. Fast forward works. And then play, and it, no clicking, and it's it comes right in. Anyway, that's the Yamaha K1020. These are pretty, what's the word for it? These are pretty common fixes, actually. This motor right here, if I can use my, I've got power to it, so I can't, make sure I can't touch anything here. This little motor here, which is right there, you can see, runs that screw jack. That usually gets gunked up, so there's 2 screws to remove it, and then I dump a little bit of oil into the spindle, and then I oiled up a little bit this gear right here. Now I just use 3-in-1. Some people would use like a little bit of lithium grease, but lithium grease over time gunks up. So a little bit of this 3-in-1 for electronics goes a long way. You can see down there. See if I can. Oh, jeez, I need a beer. Or as my good friend, my friend says in the Dakotas, a sandwich.
Of course, you know, you gotta have the beer fridge. That thing is overly full, and we got plenty of beer on top of it, so we need to do a little bit better job of consuming sandwiches around here, Duff.
Right there, you can see the belt is working pretty good here. It's spinning both what it needs to spin. So that new belt was necessary. And of course, that new tire for the idler arm was also necessary. And so far, then, the repair that I did, which is, if I can, behind this plate here, the idler tire, that also needed to be replaced. That plastic spindle so far is working, so I'm going to keep it. If I have to, I will go get a brass one machined, and of course that'll never break again. But anyway, there we go. That's pretty much it. Hang loose, man. I mean, this is kind of a first for me, and definitely not a thing that this my garage channel usually does. But hey, you know, I mean, these things are old, and there's nothing better than analog sound. And cassette tapes kept the analog sound before we started getting all batshit with CDs and started recording music digitally. I can tell you that digital sound sucks in comparison to old technology and analog recording. And when the cassette decks were in their height, analog recording was at its height. There might be some digital stuff that got transferred, but originally it was vinyl records and cassette tapes. Also 8-track, also reel-to-reel, but most of us dealt with cassettes and vinyl records, of course, and cassettes were a good way to take our music with us because it was smaller. Digital music, you can take thousands and thousands of songs in a small, like, iPod back in the old days, iPod Classic. But the sound, you'll notice, on a good hi-fi system, the sound sucks compared to analog. Anyway, this is a K1020, Yamaha K1020 fix from the 1980s. Hopefully this thing will run for another 20 years. All right, hang loose again, and everybody take care. Happy New Year, all right? All right.